After, Jack completes his computations and contacts Terry to convey that the descent of the air is too rapid, causing severe storms in Canada, Scotland, and Siberia that are intensifying and will soon spread to other regions. Their initial estimate of 6 weeks was inaccurate. The onset of the new ice age is now only 48 hours away. They are powerless to prevent it. Their only option is to rescue lives. In that very moment, Jack receives an alert about the unfolding crisis in New York and hastily rushes to rendezvous with his wife Lucy. In the heart of New York, survivors, including a faithful dog, struggle to find comfort within the confines of a library. Cell phone signals are non-existent, prompting Sam to embark on a quest for a payphone. He descends into a waterlogged floor, successfully contacts his parents to reassure them of his safety, but Jack seizes the opportunity to enlighten his son about the gravity of the situation. He implores Sam to remain indoors as the storm intensifies, warning that those outside will succumb to the deadly cold. The rising water level escalates by the second, ultimately cutting off their conversation. For a harrowing moment, Laura fears that Sam has succumbed to the depths, but is relieved when he resurfaces, gasping for breath. Laura quickly searches for dry clothes to warm Sam and shares her body heat with him. Moments later, an eerie sound grips the library's occupants' attention as they peer outside, only to be stunned by the sight of a colossal cargo ship navigating the inundated streets, obliterating vehicles in its path. In the meantime, Jack resolves to embark on a perilous journey to New York to rescue his son, despite the evident dangers. His boss concedes that he can't dissuade Jack, but urges him to attempt one last plea with the government, given their upcoming meeting with the president himself. During the meeting, Jack delivers an impressive presentation, proposing that people from the north migrate southward, even considering Mexico as a refuge. The vice president once again expresses disapproval, but this time, the president's team swiftly rebukes him for his prior negligence on the matter. To simplify the plan, Jack marks a line on the map of the United States, indicating the remaining evacuees, regretfully noting that those in distant regions face perilous freezing conditions. Following Jack's departure, the vice president attempts to voice his objections to the evacuation once more, but the president dismisses him and endorses Jack's proposal. Meanwhile, back at Terry's station, a power outage forces the team to resort to drinking as they lose hope of being rescued. In New York, the library experiences a blackout, and a homeless individual observes that the frozen flood now allows people to traverse southward on the ice. Consequently, the survivors in the library prepare to make the journey. Sam endeavors to dissuade them by conveying Jack's warning, but most people disregard his advice and depart. Only a small contingent remains behind, compelled to resort to book burning to provide warmth as temperatures plummet. They also dismantle vending machines for sustenance and employ carpets as makeshift blankets. Outside the urban hub, a population grapples with the bitter cold and regrets their departure from the library. Some are succumbing to the harsh elements. Simultaneously, Mexico seals its borders due to an inability to accommodate more American refugees. All the roadways are clogged with traffic, prompting desperate individuals to illegally traverse the river in their quest to reach Mexico. Several hours later, traffic resumes its flow as the American president strikes a deal, forgiving all Latin American debt in exchange for open borders. In a Washington, D.C. hospital, Lucy, engrossed in reading to a patient, receives distressing news. Panic has led to the disappearance of all available ambulances. A colleague mentions a police officer with a snowplow, but the patient can only be transported in an ambulance. Lucy instructs her coworker to leave while she remains with the child, awaiting proper assistance. As for Jack, he's taken aback by the aid offered by Frank and Jason in his mission to rescue Sam. Equipped with scientific gear intended for Antarctica, they traverse the frozen terrain in their truck, only to encounter an impassable obstacle. Left with no alternative, they continue on foot using snowshoes, connected by a rope. They march on for hours, uncertain of what lies beneath the snow. At one point, they unwittingly tread atop a structure. The glass beneath them shatters, causing Frank to plummet and drag the others down. Jack manages to halt the descent with his axe, but the glass beneath him begins to fracture as well. Initially, Frank severs the end of the rope to release their primary supplies bag, only to find it insufficient. Consequently, Frank takes a drastic step by cutting his own rope. The cries of his companions pierce the air as Frank plummets to his demise. Subsequently, Jack and Jason labor to erect a shelter for the night. Meanwhile, at the hospital, an ambulance arrives at last to transport Lucy and the patient. In an unexpected turn of events, the president is hastily evacuated from the White House. Shortly thereafter, the vice president receives the distressing report that the president has fallen victim to the storm. Within the confines of the International Space Station, astronauts witness a colossal cloud enveloping the Earth, capturing images to relay to Janet. Her reaction is swift. Upon viewing the images, she prophesies that the Canadian storm will strike New York within the hour. Over in the library, Laura is plagued by insomnia, and Sam initiates a heart-to-heart conversation, finally bearing his emotions. In a surprising twist, Laura reciprocates his feelings with a kiss. Come morning, the group uncovers Laura's unconscious form, debilitated by a fever. Consulting a medical reference, they discover her leg wound has led to blood poisoning, necessitating immediate penicillin. Sam takes it upon himself to venture into the cargo ship in search of the vital medicine, with Brian and JD readily volunteering to assist. Their expedition to the ship unfolds quickly, with their presence unbeknownst to the wolves that had escaped from the zoo. A locked door to the infirmary prompts Sam to navigate a corridor window carefully. Breaking the infirmary window, he gains entry, locating the much-needed penicillin for his friends. Despite Sam's eagerness to return promptly, Brian and JD assert the importance of acquiring food. Their endeavor in the ship's kitchen takes an abrupt and menacing turn when they are unexpectedly cornered by the wolves, who embark on a relentless pursuit. In the chaos, a wolf manages to sink its teeth into Jason's leg, forcing Sam to take drastic action to protect his friend and slam the door behind them. In a fateful moment, the eye of the storm finally descends upon New York. Sam, observing the situation, devises a strategy. He aims to coax the wolves out of the room so that his friends can secure the door. Sam then ventures outside, scaling the wall with the intention of re-entering through the window. However, an unintentional encounter with shattered glass prematurely alerts the wolves. In a swift move, he begins a sprint, eventually luring the wolves into a corridor and sealing them behind a locked door. Meanwhile, the wolves head to the opposite end of the corridor, attempting to reach the kitchen, but Brian and JD have already secured that entrance and are gathering supplies. They load all the provisions and a wounded JD onto a boat, which they then pull away from the ship just as the surrounding buildings start to freeze and crumble. Brian and Sam, with JD in tow, hastily make their way to the library, where they enter a warm room just in time to escape the advancing frost. The group promptly collaborates to stoke the fire and increase its intensity. On the icy expanse, Jack and Jason persist in their journey. However, Jason's energy wanes, and he eventually succumbs to exhaustion. Jack, determined, pulls him through the snow. Upon discovering the heart of the storm, Jack immediately begins digging in the snow, unearthing an open vent. Without hesitation, he tosses Jason and himself through the vent just before the area freezes over. Several hours later, Jason awakens to find a tent set up and a few fires ablaze. Upon catching sight of him, Jack's determination surges. He pays no heed to Jason's suggestion to wait, convinced that Sam's time may be running out. As they trudge through the relentless storm, they repeatedly encounter frozen corpses. They pause only briefly to rest in their tent during the night, during which Jack reflects that humanity endured an ice age, but will need to be more cautious to survive this one. Eventually, the International Space Station detects a waning of the storm over Europe, and they finally glimpse land once more. Simultaneously, Jack emerges from the tent to witness the skies clearing. With improved conditions, he and Jason make their way to New York, discovering the Statue of Liberty encased in ice and ships immobilized in frozen waters. When their GPS indicates they stand atop the library, Jack is overcome with despair, fearing his son might be buried under the snow. Unwilling to give in, the duo locates an opening in the snow, entering the building through a window. As they explore the library, hope dwindles, but they eventually spy light beneath a door. Opening it, they find the group hale and hearty, even Laura showing signs of improvement. Sam and Jack joyously reunite in a warm embrace. Later in Mexico, the vice president has assumed the role of the new president. Upon learning of the survivors in the library, he appears on TV, admitting his error and announcing a large-scale rescue operation to extract those stranded in the northern states. Helicopters soon descend upon New York, evacuating the group, including the dog. Many other survivors are discovered in various buildings. Meanwhile, in the International Space Station, astronauts observe Earth and note that the air has never appeared clearer.